5 essential steps to protect your rights after a slip and fall on snow and ice. I'm Natalie Gerry, the principal lawyer with Gerry Law. I help injured people get the compensation they deserve for their injuries. Today, we are talking about injuries, slip and fall accidents during the winter. What you need to do, so 5 essential steps to take after a slip and fall injury to make sure that you have the highest chance of receiving fair compensation. So here are 5 tips to guide you through the process. Tip number 1, make sure that you seek medical attention. Even if your injuries initially seem minor, prioritize medical care so that they can identify any hidden injuries like a concussion or a sprain or even a broken bone. Some people I talk to, they think that they're fine, they try to walk it off, and then it turns out that they have a fracture. It's very important that you go right away to get medical attention so that you can document your injuries in case there is a legal claim later. Not only that, but taking care of your health is obviously the most important thing after an accident, so getting checked out is always a good idea. Tip number 2, document the scene and gather evidence. Solid evidence is critical in proving negligence, so make sure that you take photos immediately of the hazard. So if you can, get pictures of the icy ground that made you slip or whatever it was that made you fall. Make sure that you record details like the time, the date, the location, and the weather conditions. Also, make sure that you identify any witnesses. If there's someone walking by and you don't know them, it would be very helpful if you could ask them for their contact information, if they wouldn't mind if you followed up with them, because if they saw what happened, then their evidence would be very helpful. Another tip is to preserve maintenance records. So if possible, obtain proof of the maintenance or lack thereof, such as snow removal logs. These records can really help to show if there was negligence in your case, depending on how long the ice was left without being treated. Tip number 3 is to understand property owner responsibilities. Under Ontario law, property owners and occupiers especially are required to maintain their premises in a safe condition. So this includes removing snow and ice, fixing broken walkways, or taking debris off of walkways. It can also include posting clear warnings if there are hazards that can't be immediately fixed. Negligence occurs when these duties are not fulfilled. For municipal sidewalks, liability requires proving gross negligence, which is a bit of a stricter standard than for private property, and there are specific timelines that apply to starting lawsuits against municipalities, so it is really important to get legal advice on that issue. Tip number 4 is to avoid contributory negligence. Contributory negligence is when the defendant is going to say that your actions at the time of the accident affected your injuries or affected what happened to you. You need to be prepared to address things like your footwear. Were you wearing appropriate footwear for the winter conditions? So if you're wearing running shoes in the winter, the defense is going to argue that you were contributory negligent, and the condition of your running shoes will also make a difference. If they are worn down, if there is no tread, then the defense is going to allege that there was contributory negligence. The other issue with contributory negligence is your attention. So were you distracted at the time? Were you looking behind you? Were you talking to someone and not paying attention? Were you carrying something heavy that was obstructing your view? It's arguable if this constitutes contributory negligence, because is it unreasonable to be carrying something or talking to someone? Arguably, it's not unreasonable, and people do this all the time, and the conditions need to be such that it's still safe to do these things while you're walking. The conditions need to be safe enough so that you are able to talk or carry something and not be injured, but the defense may argue that you were contributory negligent. They may also raise issues of contributory negligence about how cautious you were being. Were you exercising reasonable care while you were walking? Were you in a hurry? That kind of thing. So courts may reduce your compensation if they find that you were partially responsible for your fall. The 5th tip is to take legal action quickly, and this goes along with what I was saying about a municipal slip and fall. all, you want to make sure that in that case you are taking action and giving the required notice within the required time frame. Ontario has strict deadlines for slip and fall claims, especially those caused by snow and ice. Slip and falls on private property, you do have to provide written notice that meets certain requirements, so you have to include certain elements, and this has to be done within at most 60 days. Also public property, so with government or municipal land, it has to be done within 10 days at most. Your notice needs to include certain specific details. These details are the date, the time, the location of the accident, a description of what the hazard was, and a description of your injuries. So failing to meet these deadlines and provide this information could bar you from pursuing your claim unless there are exceptional circumstances. So the bonus tip today is to make sure that you do consult with a personal injury lawyer after you've had a slip and fall. Going through these 5 tips that I've mentioned is helpful, and that will help you to bring your action, but it's always a good idea to get some guidance from a personal injury lawyer. They can help you to conduct searches to find out who the property owner is or occupier, identify those responsible parties, to gather and present compelling evidence. They will help you to get all your medical records and organize them, as well as meeting all legal deadlines and procedures. I can be consulted for a free consultation to go over what you would need to start your claim and the strength of your claim and those aspects. Please contact me at the information below if you're interested in having a chat.